Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show, and I'm going to do it where we get under the hat of all things franchising. Love my little catchphrase. And it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's 5:15 on the 28th of July, 2026. And because it's live, we love you to get involved. Say hello, pop in a question, and get involved in our conversations. So what do we do each week on the Franchise Show? We take a new topic and a lovely guest. Today, 3 lovely guests. Hardly fit on the screen. There's so many. And before I introduce you to these wonderful people, I'll let you know what we're going to be talking about today. So today we are going to be talking about franchisee recruitment strategies. So it's very important. Both as a franchisor and a franchisee, because that's the process that you're going to be taken through when you're interested in a franchise business. So without further ado, let's introduce these lovely people to you. We have Millie Hall and Luke Elliot from Businesses for Sale. Most people, of course, know the two of you. Welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harvey.
And to make it confusing, we have somebody with the same first name as Luke's last name to confuse me. But we've got Elliot Boydon from Aspray. Elliot, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. So before we get into things today, let's do some introductions so that we know who you are and what you do. Let's go ladies first. Over to you, Millie.
Yep, so I'm Millie and I am the UK Senior Account Manager at businessesforsale.com, so work alongside Luke.
Fantastic. Senior as well. You're not old at all. How can you be a senior national? You have to get old like me. Fantastic. Well, look, welcome. It's great to have you on. And same thing goes to you, Luke.
No, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Luke. I'm a head of franchising at businessesforsale.com. So yeah, I work alongside Millie, obviously, as well as in the global markets. Looking after clients, looking at the strategy that Businesses for Sale has to help franchisors attract franchisees.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And over to you, Elliot, as well. I mean, it's great to have you on the show as somebody who's speaking from things from the other side of the table, as it were.
I guess so, yeah. So I'm Elliot, Franchise Development Manager at Aspray. So that really just means that I take all the leads that are generated from people like Millie and Luke, chat to them about Aspray, and then take them through that recruitment process. So yeah, that's what I do.
Fantastic. Well, welcome again to all of you to the show. Let's say hello to a couple of people who've joined us here live, and then we'll get into this conversation. We've got Simon Wise with us. He's put hello, franchise friends. Always good to have Simon on the show. He's very much into recruitment. He's a franchise recruiter, helps all of our franchise businesses find their fantastic people. So it's fantastic to have you on the show. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on franchisee recruitment as well. We've got a LinkedIn user. Let us know who you are. And they put, "This will be interesting." I like that comment, so I can just put that up every now and again when one of us is about to talk. But let us know who you are. Great to have you with us. We've got the fantastic Penny Hopkinson with us. Penny has been a supporter of this show for many years. She's put, "Hello, everyone. Looking forward to this interesting topic." Well, I always like to support Penny by showing her book. And sometimes I get it the right way up. Sometimes I don't. Have I today? I think I have. Might be the wrong way round. But if you want to get your franchise manuals the right way round, then you need to talk to the lovely Penny. I'm very proud of that advert as well. Anyway, great to have you with us, Penny. Really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on franchise recruitment. And we have Katrina. We've got Kat with us. Great to see you. I saw you at the Franchise Awards recently. And she's put, "Hey, Harvey." Well, fantastic to have you on. I think Katrina is with your man in a van, your van with a man, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but great to have you with us. So look, let's get into things. So I think first of all, we're going to get more of a kind of a rounded sort of view on what franchisee recruitment is. So we're going to go to Millie and Luke for this. And either of you can answer this, I'll let you choose, but how would you kind of summarize a franchisee recruitment strategy and what that is? Let's go to Luke.
So for me, obviously the franchise recruitment strategy is, it's how a franchisor is going to attract the right type of candidate to their opportunity. So using multiple channels. I've always, since my days of working in magazine advertising, marketing mix is always something that we've, I've said is a good way. Making sure you have a few sources of leads, whether that through social, through portals, through your own website if you have one. But it's just building up the knowledge of who you're attracting, finding the right type of candidate as well, and clearly defining that in the early stages is something good to do. I suppose it's part of how I see franchising recruitment strategies.
Fantastic. Millie, have you got anything to add to that in terms of that strategy and the people you've spoken to in the past?
Yeah, no, just to add on to what Luke said, I think, brands that clearly communicate their opportunity, respond quickly, and, they don't just choose anyone, they do their hard work on, screening the person if it's the right fit for the brand, because, it's a make or break kind of situation. You don't want to just anyone. So don't make sort of rash decisions just to say you've got a new franchisee kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really important to make that right decision. Elliot, let's come to you now for your experience of a franchisee recruitment strategy, and how those things have fitted into your own recruitment strategy. Having several sources, communicating that opportunity properly, and screening those individuals to make sure they're right for your business.
Yeah, I think they're two separate things really. So the first half obviously being choosing your sources and your messaging and how to attract people to the brand. And then the second part is taking that interest and kind of converting that into something that genuinely seems fit for somebody and something they can see themselves doing for 5, 10 plus years. If we start at the start, because I think Luke and Millie have both alluded to this, the sort of franchise recruitment strategy. I've seen two main ones, I guess. No surprise to anyone what I'm going to say, but number one, sort of the scattergun approach. Choose as many portals as possible, get as many listings out there as you possibly can, and see what comes back. And then that was sort of more like the start of my career when I was at an estate agency franchise. They did quite a lot of the as much as possible approach, and it did work, to be fair, lower investment level. And then when I moved on to, it was Neighbourly actually, with Alex Waite, as people may know, it was kind of focusing on a few different sources and being very visible on those platforms. So instead of a scattergun, choosing 2 or 3 and making sure you kind of dominate those platforms, if that makes sense. So that really is what I was sort of looking at on that side. Obviously, you've got the other things like social media, Google Ads, which are becoming a little bit more prevalent. But on the traditional portal side of things, I guess that's the 2 strategies that I've seen in play.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. And I think that's really interesting to get that take as to someone who's experienced those 2 strategies. Someone who's experienced like just doing everything and everywhere and that scattergun type approach. And look, I've been in the industry on the same side as you, and I know that there's such a desire to bring leads in that people forget about bringing the right people in and the right quality. It would be much better if you had 3 or 4 leads a month that were absolutely spot on, or 10 a month that were about right, rather than 100 that aren't going to work. But really interesting take. Before we continue on in this conversation, let's welcome a few more people who have joined us, and we've got a few questions coming in. We've got, it was up there anyway. There you go. We've got Ed Purnell with us. Everybody knows Ed, lovely chap. Absolutely, this is your topic as well, Ed, because Ed is all about helping franchisors with their franchisee recruitment strategies. So he's put, hey everyone, not sure how long I can listen, so start with the good stuff. Start with the good stuff, Ed. But absolutely great to have you with us. We've got Lisa Featherick, who joins us each week. She's put, hi everyone, and she helps women who are going through the menopause with dietary advice. So fantastic to have you with us, Lisa. We have got a LinkedIn user. Love the hat, Harvey, and look forward to these insights. Cheers, Dickie. Well, fantastic to have you with us, Dickie. Let me know which Dickie that is. Is that Dickie Davis, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, let us know. But great to have you with us. We have got Kat coming back, confirming the name of a business. Your man with a van. Fantastic. Well, lovely to have you with us. We've got a good question coming up from Simon. So we're going to put that up in a sec. We have got Sasha Bright has come on to say hi to Marku, bros at BFS. Absolutely. And we've got Ed coming back with Simon Wise, source better prospects, also give a reason to get on the call. Well, let's go to Simon Wise's comment, first of all, because it relates to this. Let's see what we make of this. The $64 million or pounds, depending on where you're listening in from, question, outreach. How do you get prospects in your funnel to answer the bloody phone? Well, yeah, I mean, look, this is a really interesting one. And I think let's go to Elliot for a kind of a first-hand experience on this. Do you find that is a challenge? I certainly did. You know, probably at one point when we were doing a scattergun approach, half of the people wouldn't answer the phone, or you couldn't get hold of them. You know, it got better as we got more targeted. What's your sort of take on this?
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar in the fact that Aspray's biggest reason for people dropping out of the funnel is no response, and that can come either right at the start or even after you've had the first call, or people can drop off at all stages. And unfortunately, we're never going to fix that completely. But the one thing that is definitely changing is how content-led everything is in the industry. I mean, even now, we're sat on a podcast. You do quite a lot, Harvey, with this style thing. There's another portal that we've sort of just started using that have done filming and things with us as part of their package. I'm getting a lot more candidates ask me for more information up front instead of wanting to speak to me, instead of wanting to go down the meeting route. So getting prospects to answer the phone, we've all done email drip campaigns and database emails and things like that, but the content that they see beforehand, testimonials from franchisees, that sort of thing is obviously going to be pretty key in this day and age. Yeah, I think you're right. I think putting across that story, you know, sort of potential franchisees really get to understand who you are as someone they're going to deal with. And I think putting that across in film and doing podcasts like this and all sorts of other things gives people a chance to get to know who you are. And the more you do, the more you put out, the more they're going to get to know you, because that your character will in the end come across. But yeah, look, I love that. Well, let's go to our lovely friends at Businesses for Sale now to get a sort of a more rounded thought on this. I know you've always been about quality over quantity, and I would imagine that that's going to help in terms of getting people to answer the phone, because you've done some of that vetting, some of that filtering beforehand, so that there's more of a genuine interest.
Yeah, I think one of the main things at the moment, especially as well, because I think buyers are more informed now with AI and they're asking more questions, pre-inquiry and things like that, is to really be specific and not generic with your franchise opportunity. Like when we survey our audience, they always generally come back with the same 4 things and what they want to see with an advert, and that is, how much does it cost, what will I be doing, how much money am I going to make, which is ranked at 3, but really and truly it's the number 1 hook, right? And then are other people doing it? So again, showcasing franchisee testimonial, case study, video, that sort of thing, I think is what is going to engage a buyer to take that phone call, and not just inquire, get more information and sort of let it roll by the wayside. They're going to be eager to have that phone call because you're offering them a solution to a problem in their life.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you can connect to someone and you know who they are and you're offering them more what they want, then they're going to be keener to want to talk. Well, Millie, what is your experience of this when franchise brands are coming to you talking about this issue? And I'm sure you probably get it every day. We want more leads, all this sort of thing. But what's your take on that kind of that quality piece and getting people to respond and for them being the right candidates rather than lots of candidates?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, being at businesses for sale, when I'm having conversations with whether it's existing or new brands that I'm going to be onboarding, transparency is key. Just kind of echoing what Luke said. They want to know those 4 things. So to implement that, especially for example on their brochure page, on the buyer franchise section and any sort of email campaigns, just to show how much money can I make. At the end of the day, money is a big driver to them potentially, investing in the business. So to show that transparency from the offset can, make it a lot easier process.
Definitely. I think you're right. I think sometimes when you get some of these things out the way, right? If you get the how much does it cost, how much will I make questions done, right? Answer them up front. Then people they relax a little bit. They go, okay, right, now what's it all about then? And I think that they're more interested than to find out. If you kind of sort of keep saying, yeah, we'll get to that at the end, but I need to tell you all about this, then people get a bit annoyed about it and they just want to know the answer to those. So I think it's very relevant. Let's have a look. We've got lots of questions coming in. This is clearly a conversation that's resonating with our audience. If you have just joined us today, this is the Franchise Show. And today we are talking about franchisee recruitment strategies with a trio of experts. Let's have a little look here. We have got, what data are you using to break down the right audiences and streamline quality over quantity leads? And what makes you different from other trusted franchise portals? We've touched on this a little bit, but I guess let's take the data element of this out. Yeah. So when you've got a franchise brand that comes to businesses for sale and they say, this is what we do, this is what we're about, how do you sort of make sure that's sent or attracted the right people to that particular organization? Or do you put it out and let the right people come to the organization?
So I think it's more of the latter side. Obviously, BFS is a directory. In terms of breaking down the right audience and streamlining quality over quantity, a lot of that is done through the category placements that we have on the site, making sure users who are searching for franchises in specific categories are landing on the right pages, through location search as well. So people that are searching for franchises in certain areas are finding the right franchise opportunities for them in their area, and such like that. And then obviously trying to ask more of the franchise buyer at the moment as well. So implementing more questions around your capital, time frame to invest, things like that, rather than it just being an email and a phone number, for example. Trying to tease out a little bit more upfront out of these people, because we think we have a feeling that AI is driving a lot of people's interest in finding opportunities, and then they're coming to portals or franchise or websites a bit more informed and further along the process. So asking these types of questions, they should be ready for them. Yeah. I won't touch the last part of that. Sales call.
No, but I think you're absolutely right. People are becoming more informed as buyers of businesses, as potential investors into franchise businesses. Elliot, are you finding that? Are you finding that there's a change, that people are more informed about the business and you're not having to explain a lot too much about the fundamentals of it because they've already done that research? Or does that vary depending on who you're talking to?
I think there's definitely an increase in that. Definitely people have spoke to me and I say about, oh, this franchisee does this. And they say, oh, that's the guy on the video that I saw and things like that. So there's definitely that element to it. There's always going to be variation. I actually spoke to a guy on the phone before this. We had a 50-minute call and he said, I've got a massive list of questions for you. So that's fantastic. That's exactly what I want, because it makes my job easier. And I know that you're invested in the process ultimately. So you get the other side of the coin. I just wanted to find out what it was really. And that kind of is a bit of a red flag for me. But yeah, definitely more informed for sure.
I think that you've hit upon something that's really interesting as a franchisor or a franchisee listening to this. If you realize that if you're phoning up and you're saying, oh, well, what's it all about? And, I don't really know a lot about the business. It is a bit of a red flag. But if you're saying you've got loads of questions and you can really picture it in your mind, as a franchise development person, you're thinking, okay, this person is sounding at least serious, they're sounding interested, they're sounding passionate. Because it's a joint thing, isn't it? It's not just someone comes to the business, they can have a franchise. They've got to sort of sell themselves to you as a franchisee that they are right for the business, at the same time as you're making sure that the opportunity presented is right for them as well. Let's have a look. We've got a few more people who have joined us here live. Fantastic to have Johnny Joseph with us. He's put hello from a hot yet lovely Los Angeles. It's always great to have you with us, Johnny. Johnny is a franchisee loyalty auditor. So fantastic to have you with us. Let's have a look. We've got some really good questions coming in. Let's take this one. Ed's put, how important do you think GEO is for franchise recruitment marketing, and would you optimize for each specific LLM? He's definitely testing your knowledge of acronyms here, isn't he? Either Luke or Millie, do you know what any of these acronyms are? And can you enlighten us? If not, Ed will have to.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
LLM, yeah. GEO, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, elaborate. Come on, and let's find out what they are. This is a learning for everybody, so all good stuff. This is a good one from Simon, actually. I quite like this question here. Simon's put email, SMS, WhatsApp in terms of communication here and in terms of getting information back. I think it's a really interesting one. What's your thoughts on this one, Millie? Because for me, sometimes when you're approaching somebody, email is not the best because we just get so much junk email. There's spam filters. Have you found that some of these other things, WhatsApp perhaps is a better way of outreaching, or social media messaging perhaps?
When I have conversations with clients, I know SMS and WhatsApp can be very reactive. And, with email, yes and no. If, a potential franchisee is interested, they hope you would expect them, to be waiting for the email follow up to, have a further conversation, etc. But yeah, the SMS and the WhatsApp is probably the best way to hit the person, from the offset.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point to just mix up that messaging and try and deliver it in different ways depending on your audience. Elliot, what do you make of this one? Have you found that there's been some more and less successful communication strategies that you've used?
It's a really interesting question, actually. I don't know about WhatsApp purely because maybe I find it a little bit annoying, the fact that you've got to manage. It's like it's too conversational. It feels like I'm talking to friends, and some people might prefer that. But I think it's a serious thing to go through the process and learn about a franchise. Maybe I would use text and WhatsApp purely for just re-engaging them. If I haven't managed to get through to them on the phone or via email, that would probably be my sort of third point of call. And you gauge from the prospect of what they're more comfortable with. So if they're responding on WhatsApp, then obviously you can continue on sort of via that route.
Yeah, absolutely. Mix it up depending on who you're talking to. And look, I think most people are in a position of a franchise development person have got a good understanding of people, a good understanding of how they're reacting, how they're responding to the different communications that you're putting out there. So yeah, love that. Wow, we've got a lot of questions coming in. Let's take this one. This has been asked a couple of times about costs here, and we can approach this in a generic way if you like. But I think that there's going to be a lot of franchisors listening that are considering portals, considering different ways of attracting new potential people to the business. Do you look at this as a cost per lead? Do you look at it more of a sort of a general branding expenditure? Let's put that first of all to the lovely people at Businesses for Sale, and then let's go to Elliot afterwards. So, do people ask you about cost per lead? I suppose it's a question.
Yeah, it's a metric obviously that campaigns are judged by. Cost per lead. Cost per conversion as well is another way of tracking things. I think one that ultimately might be a bit more. It's what you're getting out of it really at the end of the day. But I don't really understand the first part of that. Why do you only sell areas? But yeah, I mean, we do a bit of everything with anyone in terms of what suits the franchisor's needs specifically, and what we can actually provide for them in the volume as well. So some brands that work with us, they might only get sort of one to two leads a month, but sometimes those leads are valuable enough, i.e. like they are, they're being able to speak to a large majority of the leads that come through, so it doesn't make sense for them to stay paying a high subscription, and then they just they go to cost per lead or to pay per lead.
Yeah, that's interesting. Simon's put, what is the cost per deal with Aspray? I mean, look, without going into huge amount of details, you obviously you've got a marketing budget that you want to use to try and attract the right people. And I know that it's, the last time I checked, I think the BFA talked about somewhere around £5,000 per new franchisee signed on to the business. Do those sorts of numbers ring true for you? And are you finding it a challenge to get the value out of marketing, or is what sort of costs are we looking at with yourself?
Yeah, it was in and around that. I mean, for context, I think the investment level is quite important as well. So Aspray's investment level is 35,000 plus VAT. I'm sure people with sort of franchises of a smaller value would need that to be a lot lower, and obviously franchises of a higher investment level would be willing to pay more. But ours was sort of around that pretty consistently for the first 2 years.
Sure.
Last 12 months, I'm sure with everybody a little bit more challenging, people taking more time to consider things, but it won't be too far off that.
Sure, absolutely. I suppose another thing that I wanted to get into today, which is when you're trying to recruit a new franchisee and you're trying to put across the message of your business, exactly who you are. How do you go about doing that? We mentioned video before. We mentioned some of the brochures. Obviously putting information on portals like this. But Elliot, how would you say you can deliver across the message of your business during that recruitment process, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in franchise recruitment marketing for 10 years, and back at the start, it was all very much email led, as everybody's probably aware. And I think that's still really effective, don't get me wrong. And I think that's part of the mix, very much so. As we discussed earlier, moving into the content side, Aspray were always really good at this, and Laura and the marketing team are great at producing new things, so I don't have to worry about it. It goes out there and people sort of talk to me about what they've seen. I think we can overcomplicate it a little bit. I don't think it's sort of rocket science. It's just more about the consistency of how often you're getting the message out there, and obviously the quality of what you're producing. So emails, videos, all the typical stuff, but consistency and quality of the message.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Oh, look, Ed's come back. Here's the answer to those acronyms. We've got generative engine optimization and large language models. Oh, well, there you go. See, every day's a school day. So I guess Ed is talking there. Luke, you were talking about people using AI in order to sort of do that first sieve and, you know, find out what opportunities are there. And I guess as franchise businesses, we've got to put out the right content so that the right people pick up the right things through these types of AI models. So thanks, Ed, for the lesson. Let's have a look at this one. This is a good question, actually. How much of the business ability background of the potential franchisee is considered during the recruitment process? Let's go to Millie on this one. When you've got a franchisor, and let's say they're let's say they're a teaching franchise, something like that. You know, they do tutoring and so on, and they say, well, it's really important that we've got teachers in our business. You know, do you get that? Can you be that focused in terms of a recruitment strategy?
Yeah, I mean, the first main thing I would suggest is having that very visible within the content that is sat on your brochure page. And, you know, one thing that we can do at Businesses for Sale is place a pre-qualifying question before the potential franchisee, say, is able to send an inquiry to the franchise. We can put, you know, do you have experience in teaching? Do you have X, Y, and Z? And it will have a simple yes or no. If yes, then it will take them to the contact form. And then if not, you know, there'll be a little message saying this franchise opportunity isn't right for you. With those pre-qualifying questions, it, you know, just fishes out the time wasters. And a lot of people do it, you know, especially in terms of investment level as well. Because, you know, people can quickly scan an opportunity and inquire, and, you know, they have less than 5K in the bank and it's over 100K investment. So, yeah, we put those measures in place so we can help fish out and, you know, not waste the client's time either chasing up a lead that is no good.
Yeah. And look, it would waste everybody's time. You know, there are plenty of franchise businesses out there that if you have £5,000 that you could invest in, there's some low cost franchises out there. And what they don't want to do is to go through a whole process and spend their time when it's just not going to work, however good they are as a potential franchise business partner. So it's really important to assess that at the beginning. Then let's go to Elliot on this. You know, talk a little bit about when you speak to people about their background and how important is that to you as a business?
Obviously, very much so. I spoke about that 50-minute conversation. I'm very old school. That's their crib sheet there. And the questions are, what do you do at the moment? What's your ambition with it? Why are you looking to do it? Obviously, what area they're based, which can get rid of them straight away if it's the wrong area. Have they got the money? What's the time frame? And what caught their eye about our business in particular? Again, trying to throw it back at them a little bit to make sure they've done a little bit of research and that they are invested in the process again. The other thing that we have that I think a lot of the care businesses have, and ours in particular, is the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority. So early stages, I'm asking them a lot of questions. I take their kind of word for it, and that's the first thing I do is ask them, and then they can fire away with questions to me throughout. And then when it gets more serious, we obviously need to know for the FCA certain things about their history and background regardless. So throughout, we're looking at their character and things like that. And then for us, there's a really hard stop at the end where they can't get on the FCA register without certain things.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. You mentioned there about areas, and this is an interesting one, actually, because when we're looking at potential franchise partners, a lot of franchise businesses are geographically split up when the business is formed. So they may have a region of which they are trying to find a franchisee for. That's all good. I love when that happens. That's all part of it. Sometimes my cat come up here and just sort of jump through my head. Actually, that hasn't happened, but he does walk up there. But yes, so look, I think that that's an interesting one, because a strategy, a franchisee recruitment strategy, may well be that the UK is split into 200 regions. We have 100 of those regions left available. So and I think that's what Sasha was getting at, actually, in terms of areas and so forth, that you perhaps can specialize in helping a franchisor find franchisees for particular areas. Is that right, Luke?
That is the case. So we can help franchisors recruit nationally. Franchise adverts on national adverts, as well as all the adverts on businesses. So they're all national adverts, can be viewed by anyone. Obviously, businesses that are for sale have a specific location, so they're tagged as a location. But franchising is everywhere and anywhere, and then we offer franchisors the ability to drill down into specific target areas. So whether that be, them being brand new, having a complete blank map, and being able to pinpoint maybe either areas around where they're based, if it helps them grow from that base, if they need to grow from that base for support reasons or any other reasons, stocking reasons, for example, or we can help them go, to major cities, etc. Or like with a certain client in Canada, they're looking for specific places where they have, one unit out here, one unit over there, and we help them find units in those specific areas.
And that's really interesting, because again, and I hope that answers your question, actually, Sasha, because regionally and nationally and internationally sometimes are important for franchise businesses, depending on what your stage is in the franchisor journey. Sometimes you're going to get a franchise business that all of the regions within, let's say, the UK have been taken. They've all got franchisees in them. They're only looking at resales, which is, we've done that topic a few times actually on the show. But yeah, so it's good to know it can be regionally and nationally. Let's come to you, Elliot, on that. You mentioned, and this was what sparked this part of the conversation, that you speak to them about where they are, and is that because your business is in the same way geographically divided?
Yeah, I think from a franchise recruitment perspective, if there are franchise portals listening, that would be my number one thing that I would like to see. I think most franchises or more established ones are now looking at specific areas. Our biggest issue is that the southeast in London is pretty much full up, and I think a large percentage of franchise inquiries sort of come from that region. So we're trying to hit the Midlands and parts of sort of the traditionally tough places like North Wales and East Anglia.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing. I think when I was with Countrywide Grounds, they had 3 areas left to sell. So it was a need to be extremely specific. And I think there was only 2 or 3 portals that we managed to find that could really deliver that sort of level of sort of honing down. So
often that happens with a franchise business, because often, especially if it's someone generally has come up with this idea, they're growing this franchise business, they live in a part of the UK. The obvious step when they grow it to support it properly, when they haven't got necessarily the infrastructure there, is to grow it near where they started. So it typically happens that if a business started in the southeast, that the southeast in London fills up first. And then it's areas in the country that are perhaps more densely populated, easier to get to, and it's kind of the outskirts that are the last ones to go. We've got a good point here from Simon, actually. I think this is an important part of a process, actually. And without getting too much into legals, because none of us are solicitors here, but let's take this on a sort of a more general basis first. As a franchisor, we are selling proven models. We're selling this idea that we've proven to be successful so that somebody else can have the benefit of that. And that's where the value is. That's what someone's paying for. So, of course, at some point, you've got to say to somebody that, we're now getting into the detail of this. we need you to make sure you don't go off and copy this or tell somebody else about it. Where do you find, let's go to Millie or Luke first. Do you find NDAs ever come into your part of the journey for a franchise, or is it normally once that contact has been made?
Luke may be better to answer this question because I personally haven't had to deal with, NDAs, etc. So I'll let Luke take the lead on that if he can.
Yeah, no, I mean, on the franchise side of things of what we do, there's the endpoint is the contact form being submitted, basically. So we don't have an NDA process built into the site at the moment, but I don't think it would be. I feel like it's something that you could do. Elliot can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's something that you maybe should do early on in the process as possible. If someone's not willing to sign an NDA, kind of how serious are they to a certain degree? But yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Let's go to Elliot actually on this, because let's get your take on because it's certainly part of the process, whether it's part of the strategy, it's certainly part of that process of recruiting a franchisee. Where do you first of all, do you use them? And second of all, where does it generally come in that conversation?
Yeah, Luke hit the nail on the head, really. So after that call on the crib sheet, answer their initial questions, the next step for them is to have a sort of more in-depth meeting with me, and I'll go through the model in a lot more detail, give them projections, franchise agreements, and that sort of thing. So it's before then that the NDA will be signed. And the thing that Luke said that made me laugh is like, I know when someone's not turning up to that meeting when the NDA hasn't been signed. So it's a massive indicator of, again, how sort of interested they are.
That's really interesting as well, because you're taking that franchise recruitment journey, all these signals, right, that a franchisee wouldn't necessarily know that that's the thought process, but it's absolutely true. I mean, when I did that particular role, one of the things was inviting somebody for a discovery day, because they would have to make the effort, the journey, take the time, that focused time. If they didn't turn up, it was an indication in itself. I mean, there's occasions where it happens, but it was an indication in itself that they weren't serious. So yeah, really interesting. We are close to the end. We've got a couple of minutes left. Let's make sure that we get to all of these questions. Let's welcome Charles Caldwell to the show. Charles is dialing in all the way from Hong Kong, and it's about 1 a.m. where Charles is. So I always appreciate Charles joining us, and I hope you're well, my friend. Sasha's come back saying, I can recommend BF Businesses for Sale on targeted local basis. Well, there you go. There's a little recommendation for you there. It's not about 5K, it's about the return, but you can sell anyone on that basis. Franchise recruitment is a fine line between sales and delivery. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at this one. Let's maybe end on this one, because I quite like this one. So Simon's come back to say, what makes a good franchise recruiter? So look, I'm going to get your view on this. Obviously, Businesses for Sale, you're doing the bit before the information arrives with the development person at the business. But you've done a lot of work, but to get these potential people interested. So I'm sure that you would like the next stage of the process to be a good one and reflect well. So what's your sort of thoughts on what makes someone a good recruiter? Is it about listening and understanding those people? What's your take on this? To either Millie or Luke.
Yeah, I'll start off by answering that. I think definitely the first one would, be transparency, so that the success of the business, even the challenges that, may arise, and, how much money they can make, and, how quickly you can get back to a prospective franchisee, and, your follow-up process, because it will also give, the potential franchisee an indication of who you are. If you lack the communication and lack information and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very important, and I think coming back to somebody quickly is important. There's some exceptions to that. What's your take, Elliot, on this one? Without saying, well, just me.
Yeah.
But what attributes do you think make a good franchise recruiter?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements that make people a good, dare to say, salesperson. So we'll just
you can dare
and go towards franchise recruitment in particular. You almost need to be on their side, but being sort of informative and allowing them to make the decision, I would say, because I think Sasha said it in his, you shouldn't be selling the franchise to a certain extent. I think when we had sales training with the Americans, they always used to tap into the why of the candidate and trying to get into the emotional side of their history as to why they need to make a change and that sort of thing. If it's right for them, they will decide. So as long as you're informative, you know the ins and outs of the business, and you can present that to them in a way that's obviously appealing, then they will make the decision based on sort of their circumstances, if it's for them or not.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's about trying to understand them, giving them the right information so that they can make an informed decision. You can't sell someone an investment opportunity of tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds. You've just got to be open and informative and upfront and hopefully nice and friendly, and let them make that decision and see whether they're aligned. So great question. Well, we have come to the end of the first part of today's show. So I would like to thank everybody who has been here live and got involved in our conversations. It's clearly something that resonates with our community and with our audience. So thank you for taking your time today to get involved in our conversation. Now, this is the part of the show where my camera will go off, because you're not allowed to see me without wearing some sort of hat. And I've got this one. Look at that. What a beauty. What a beauty. And this one was made for me by Paul Murphy at PJ Murphy & Sons. So if you would like a hat like this one, then contact my lovely friend Paul, who used to be in franchising as well. Now, this is also the part of the show where we stop talking about franchisee recruitment for a little bit. And we find out a little bit about our guests. We normally spend a couple of minutes on this, so we're going to have to pick one of you for this. And it's also the part of the show where you get to ask me any question you like. So first of all, the question I have, and anybody can answer this, is: have you met anyone famous? Have you got a claim to fame or some sort of interesting or crazy hobby? So if anyone's got a story, now is the time. And I will pick someone in a minute. Let's go with Elliot. Let us know, have you met anyone famous?
Well, funnily enough, it's 10 years to the day, or 14 years, sorry, to the day that the Olympic opening ceremony was in London.
Oh, yes.
And a load of school kids were chosen to line the route of the athletes' village to the stadium where all the athletes were walking past. So at the same day, I did sort of touch hands with Usain Bolt, Tom Daley,
nice.
Roger Federer, Luis Suarez. So that was a bit of a all-in-one. I didn't obviously spend any time with them, but they all walked past, and it was a pretty good
experience. Usain Bolt flew past really quickly.
Yeah.
A flame on your hand.
Yeah. Oh, there was all the NBA stars as well because of that. So it was crazy. I was only I can't remember how old I was, 14. So yeah, a bit of an experience.
Yeah, amazing. Very good. Well, look, I said to you could get your own back on me as well. And this, I will put it out to anyone first, and then I will pick someone. But now is the time to ask me anything you like and get your own back on me. And I don't know what it's going to be. So anyone can do that now.
I have a question about franchise recruitment. Sorry, Millie.
No, go.
This is less to Harvey, but hopefully to the people that will watch and listen, because I get a lot of candidates now send me big lists of ChatGPT questions, and it really grinds my gears. How do people remain professional when dealing with massive lists of ChatGPT questions that have been sent over to you.
I actually had very similar. I've for the last couple of weeks been going back and forth with someone, and it's ChatGPT questions, and it's exhausting. But there's so many, and obviously you have to answer all of them. But it's frustrating. It's difficult.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. I think that absolutely will be a future topic here, because it is really frustrating. It's frustrating because until it gets better, I can certainly always tell when it's an AI bot that has produced a series of questions. It has a naivety and a confidence all at the same time, doesn't it? But look, we will find ways around it. And I think one of the ways is to meet people, is to talk to people, and it's for them to see you as well, and to really understand your business and you as a person, because they've yet to create a robot of me. I don't think they can do it. I really don't. But there you go. Look, there's been a few other questions. I will have a look at those, and all four of us can look at these LinkedIn comments afterwards. Sasha, I know you've put a few more in there. Thanks so much for being involved. And we have now come to the end of today's show. So first of all, I would like to thank everybody who has been here live. You really are what makes this special. You are the producers and the directors of this show. And of course, I'd like to thank our fantastic guests, Elliot, Luke and Millie. Thank you so much for being so wonderful.
Thank you for having
us, Harvey.
And that leaves me now just to say that please join us next week on the Franchise Show, Tuesday, the something of August. I'll have a look at my diary, but it's every Tuesday at 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And until next time, my lovely friends, take very good care. Cheerio.